Welcome to Brain Matrix, the quest for smarter artificial intelligence. So one of the things that I'm going to ponder today, or we're going to ponder together, is what is a problem? Because if we had artificial intelligence that could identify problems and then solve them, imagine what it could bring to the world. And I thought this question would be quite simple to answer, and it was not. It's been quite a complicated and difficult thing to get my head around. And that's it, because we solve thousands of these things every day. We solve thousands and thousands of problems, and yet I couldn't put my finger on what they really were. I couldn't point to something and say that is a problem. I mean, I get out of bed every day, I have a shower, I brush my teeth, I go to work, I come home, I call my friends, I watch TV. But I couldn't say to myself that's a problem. I couldn't point to something like I could a cup or a spoon or a table or a door. Just couldn't point to it and say that's a problem. And that was a difficult thing to wrap my head around. And I spent several weeks really trying to see why I even solved these things. What was the point? How would I use what I've got here, this problem-solving ability inside my own head, to create some kind of mathematics that looks similar, and then put that inside artificial intelligence? And I just couldn't put my finger on it. So I decided to try a different way. Inside of this discovery of a problem and the solution. And what I found was that we do have an innate ability to solve problems, and that is the fight or flight response. So inside if you put your hand on a hot plate, you're going to recoil. Your hand is going to automatically recoil. If someone threatens your life, say for instance in a dark alley with a knife, you're going to either fight, flight, or freeze. So the brain, and our brain, has this innate ability or want to solve a problem, and yet they're the only ones that I could see as actual things that we have, the processing to do. It's part of what we do normally, but there's nothing in my brain that says must have shower. It's not something that's innate. I could not have a shower, and I'm not going to be forced to do it. My brain's not going to say you must get in the shower like it would if I put my hand on the hot plate. And that was quite confronting, because here I am not being able to put my finger on why I do thousands of things a day where there's no real reason to do them. And all I could come up with is that they're a figment of my imagination. Maybe I imagine that these problems need to be solved. And as the pieces started to fall into place once I accepted that maybe I just imagined them. And if you look at something like an aeroplane, someone who doesn't know what aeroplanes are, that would just be, it would be a figment of someone's imagination. Like looking at the helicopter, a figment of someone's imagination. Going to space, even in the early 1900s, just wasn't even, it was a figment of imagination. And even little things like going from home to work, the solution and the problem are both figments of your imagination. But you don't have to go to work. And how you go to work is completely up to you. You could ride your bike, you could walk, you could ride your motorbike, you could run, you could drive a car, you could take an Uber Lyft, you could take a helicopter, you could take a plane if you were really rich. But they're all figments of imagination. And now that was cool. That realization that we imagine these problems. And what does that imply? Where can we go with that? And that there's so many cool places to go with inside of a figment of imagination. How do we get ourselves to, just simple questions like, how do we get ourselves to solve problems? Are problems learned? In other words, from the past, from our past experiences, do we learn the water goes into the cup? There's just so many really cool places that we can go with this. Is it a good idea to have an artificial intelligence with an imagination? Considering that imagination could be thinking up anything. And inside of the thought of the fight or flight response, is it a good idea for an artificial intelligence to have fear? To fear human beings or fear a loss of its own life? You know, there's just so many awesome places. So that's where we're going to go in future videos.